what is there? There's a meme that goes around that I quote all the time that I really feel looking back on our childhood kind of encapsulates. It's the little dog sitting in the burning building drinking his coffee and is like, this is fine. And that's kind of our, like, we were in a burning building. Like, racism was still in existence. It was still very prevalent in a lot of places, especially southern areas, rural areas, because West Virginia is not South, and they will fight you tooth and nail if you say that they're Southern. But there was still and still is a great deal of it up there, but we were being told, no, it's post-racial, like, no, there's a token black character in this television show. Go watch that. That's and then they'll do a very special episode where they talk about race a little bit, and then they go back to whatever wacky hijinks the next episode, and you forget all about it. So I really think that meme kind of encapsulates that. Like, we were just sitting there thinking, "Oh, this is fine."
Yeah, but the irony is, right, is that fire will burn me to a crisp.
Yes.
But it won't burn you to a crisp. So you saying this is fine is actually more reasonable than it seems in that situation. Because it does seem fine.
How well this meme worked on this.
Listen, bro, my brain was just like, I gotta zone in on that. But no, it's just like this is kind of my point, is that, like, two worlds, right? You know, in one world the fire burns, and the other one the fire doesn't burn, but you are still getting burned, even though you don't even realize it. You know, it's a little bit hard to wrap your mind around if you're not taught about these things at a young and early age. And now we have laws against teaching people about these things at a young and early age. So it's very obvious at this point, you know, there's no more, like you said, the veil has been lifted. The curtain has been pulled. Okay. We know who the wizard is. The jig is up. Okay. Like, and the only question now to me in 2025 is, the only question I'm interested in right now is, given someone having knowledge of that reality, what are they going to do? Mm-hmm. That's all I care to know. And so there's two goals of mine right now, which is, one, make sure as many people know as possible. Make sure as many people understand race and racism and white supremacy as possible in the way that it actually exists, in the way that it actually functions, in the generational power that it actually is, and how it's still operating presently, and how it will operate in the future if nothing is done. Mm-hmm. And then I want to know, what are you going to do? And I don't care what the answer is, believe it or not. Okay? But I'm going to pose that question. I'm definitely going to force that question down your throat until you give me an answer. And that is how I've chosen to use my privilege of being a Black person who is conscious of race, who is conscious of the facts surrounding race, and has done independent study and higher education study as well on the subject, and who has been investigating questions of race and racism since he was 6 years old. What I can do as somebody with the insight of having experienced life in America as a Black person is I can use the experience and the knowledge that I've gained to do what I think is within my power and is most valuable to bringing about change in our society and reducing that toxicity that I mentioned earlier. And what that is creating as many conversations on the subjects as possible, dispelling people's fear of having those conversations, making sure that people understand that none of this is about blame. I think that people's minds immediately go towards who to blame. And I think that that is problematic because it's not looking at the situation realistically. You know, we're not in the 1960s. We're not in the 1920s. We're not in the 1800s. We're not in the 1700s. We're in 2025 right now. And we have to think about despite the fact that these ancient legacies are still wreaking havoc on us as humans and as a society and as a country, where do we want to go from here, and what's reasonable to aspire to? And without coming to answering that question of what are you going to do given this reality, there's no way you can even imagine a future of something that's better, of something that's different, of something that's less toxic. And so giving people the opportunity to imagine, that's what we're doing here at the Contraband Wagon. Okay? Imagine a world that's different, and to choose anti-racism as a value, as you have done. And how do I know that you've done that? It's because of how you talked about your evolution of race consciousness, the actions you've taken, okay, helping me with my project, being here on the show right now, having this conversation with me, offering your help in the future, the support that you've given me, the fact that you ended up cutting off some of your extended family members because of their racist beliefs that they refuse to let go of. All of these things show that you have taken on anti-racism as a value. So you are already acting out anti-racism as a value by doing these things. Okay. And you just have to continue, and you just have to not shy away from it. And you just have to encourage others to get involved if it's really a true value of yours, And don't worry that you need to be doing something specific. When something becomes your value, then it's just something that, it becomes a part of who you are, right? It becomes just a regular part of your thinking process. If you encounter a situation where race becomes relevant, then because you've taken that on as a value, you'll recognize that situation and you'll have a choice. And the only thing that you have to do is choose to remain in line with your values. And that's all I think we can ask of anyone to do, any individual person, is to be true to their values, once you've chosen. But a lot of people in the race context haven't chosen. And the reason they haven't chosen is because they've been taught that they don't need to choose. The same way you and I were taught that this is all in the past, people still believe it. And many people, I would say, it's possible that most people in the country believe that, or at least have taken on that belief, let's say, because I think most people generally, if they really thought about it, critically, that they could probably come to an understanding that it doesn't make any sense that it would be over suddenly. But, it's not
Did I just not get the memo that racism's over? Is that what?
Yeah, man. We have meetings every month, all the blacks, we get together, and I never heard that. Okay. So, yeah, but I don't know, man. It's just, that's where I'm at right now. That's what I can do with my individual power. And what can you do? The things you've already done. And I'm sure a lot more. Okay. And I'm sure you're going to do more in the future as well. I just want to express my gratitude to you for what you have done. Because it's a lot more than almost anyone else has done to support me in this endeavor. So I really appreciate it.
That's the thing. It feels like going through it's that just seems like a really low bar.
Yeah, but it's not a bar, right? When you're living your values, you're not trying to reach some bar. You are just literally following what you told yourself you believe in. That's it, right? And so don't think of it as a bar to reach, as some height you have to climb. It's not like that. It's not like some nebulous potential line that if you reach it, you become Super Saiyan MarauderEX. Okay, that's not what we're doing here. You're just living as a person who believes in a value of respecting humanity, and that requires you to be anti-racist. And that's what you've chosen, so that's how you act, right? If I see racism in the wild, I step in. If I see, someone being discriminated against, I say something. If someone needs my support, if I have specialized knowledge that something's going on and someone doesn't know, I'll tell them. It's just what comes along with my choice of taking on anti-racism as a value, right? And what comes along with your choice of taking anti-racism on as a value. You decided, okay, I'm looking around me. I'm seeing Donald Trump elected president for a second term after everything we know. The man who literally the housing racial discrimination language comes from a case against him. Like, and, you know, this man who is just vile. Yeah, and we've elected him again. On the other side, a career government official who has done all kinds of things in government, you know, argue with them or believe in them, don't believe in them. The qualifications were there, you know, the experience was there. Current vice president, like, I mean, and we chose reality TV.
Yeah, we chose
bigot. Is what we chose by the tens of millions. And so that is our reality once again, you know, and I hope that it's a wake up call for other people, just like you kind of mentioned it was for you, you know, that like, okay, like I need to do something more. You felt inspired, right? That inspiration, brother, that you felt, that came from your values. You felt that inspiration because of your values. If you had not taken on anti-racism as a value, you would have never felt that. You would have never thought that. And so my point is, you've already done the hard work, which is making the choice. Now you just have to live by that choice. Okay. And if you can no longer live by that choice, then your values have changed, and just be honest about that. And that's what I would say to anyone, you know. I'm not trying to be out here convincing people to be anti-racist. You decide. You decide whether you want to be anti-racist or not. And whether you're okay with existing the way you were, like you could be. You've been doing it just fine this whole time, right? Without making a decision about anti-racism, you know, for someone else, not you. You've done it, you know, but for whoever. And you could continue on. But you must make a choice. I'm going to put the choice to you. You must make a choice one way or the other. Saying that you are not going to take on a value as anti-racism under the current environment we're in, it supports racism. It's unfortunate, you know, but that's the reality of the situation and how it works. And so everyone's got to be put to that choice, because we got to figure out what kind of country we're in here, even though like all signs point to you know, better luck tomorrow. But, you know, I think what's best right now is to get all our cards on the table and make this a conversation for the public square so that we can figure this thing out without any more continuous bloodshed, because racism takes lives daily. You know, I think people forget that because it's behind the scenes, but on the daily, it is taking people's lives and doing everything in between. Nothing. I would say the consequences of racism are nothing to death. That is like the range of consequences.
That is the full spectrum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everything in between that you can possibly imagine that is bad. And so it's a wild way to exist within that world. And how wild is it to get used to existing in that world, to get comfortable existing in that world? And that's where most people are. That is where most people are. It's disheartening and inspiring at the same time for me, right? I'm disheartened because, you know, sometimes you just wish people were better. You know, sometimes you just wish people, you know, like yourself, would introspect, you know, and decide, I'm not okay with this, and take action based on that. I mean, it must have taken a lot for you to cut off your family, you know? I mean, that's your family. But, you know, that was a hard line for you. And so, you know, we need more people with that kind of fortitude, and it can only come from making the choice. And that's why you were able to do it. And you'll be able to do every future act of anti-racism for the same reason, because you've already chosen to do it. Then you just have to execute. So, yeah. What do you think about all that?
I mean, like you said, it's looking at it as not a bar. That's the thing. Like I always look at things like that. It's like the low bar, but you know, you phrase it in a way that it just look at it from a different perspective. Because I never would, like, I look at it as, just not being a racist POS myself is, that's the bare minimum I can do. And, like, that is a bar that's so low that so many people can't achieve that it's terrifying. But you're like, don't look at it this way. Don't just shift your position about 80 degrees and look at it this way, as not something to climb to, but just like you said, it's a core value.
Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.